What's going on? Welcome back to Talking About Baseball. Today, we are going to be going over a quick discussion as two of the Cubs' biggest rivals, the Cardinals and the White Sox, have completed a three-team deal, which also includes the Dodgers in it. Also going over some slight MLB news that has happened earlier today. I may be uploading a second video today if another big trade happens, but so far for today, this will be the only one. Unless, like I said, something big happens. So let's get it started here with the first player the White Sox acquired. In this trade, they have acquired Miguel Vargas amongst three other prospects from the Dodgers. The three other prospects not very highly rated. I will not be going over them. Miguel Vargas has had an interesting career. He's been pretty solid this year for the Dodgers, but is overall just blocked. Could be a very similar situation to Michael Busch for the White Sox. Michael Busch, a guy who was blocked in the LA Dodgers system with all their great infielders and got dealt to the Cubs, like I said, another Chicago team, and he has thrived there this year. Miguel Vargas plays similar positions. So far this year has been pretty good. On base percentage and batting average could be better, but the slugging has been good with 3 home runs and 71 at bats. Doubles have been pretty solid throughout his career, with 15 last year in just 81 games. He also had 4 triples last year, which is kind of surprising for a guy with not much speed. He can play the corner outfield, corner infield spots. Not a great defender. Also plays second base, but he is a serviceable defender for a bat that has a lot of promise, lots of team control as he has less than a year of service time. Obviously, very cheap contract, not yet ARB eligible. And I think Miguel Vargas could be a really solid bat in the future for the White Sox as the rebuild goes on. And he's a good guy for them to get, as like I said, he's not a free agent until after the 2029 season. And that's very valuable for a White Sox team that doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. Moving on to the first player that the Dodgers acquired, it is Michael Kopech, former first-rounder of the Red Sox, included in the Chris Sale trade. He had a lot of promise and honestly has kind of just fallen off at this point. So in 2018, he came up for the White Sox and was pretty solid, but had Tommy John surgery and then opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID. So that's 2 straight years without playing. He comes back in 2021 and was a really solid reliever for a White Sox playoff team. They try him out as a starter in 2022. He's really solid. And he comes out in 2023 and he's absolutely horrible. The walks are a really big issue. He leads the American League in walks in just 130 innings. And although the strikeouts are for sure there, his walks per 9 are a huge concern. And he comes into this year, the White Sox move him to the closer. Not much expectations for him or the team. And honestly, he hasn't been all that bad. I view this kind of as a Joe Kelly, who was dealt from the White Sox to the Dodgers last year. A reliever who's not doing very well, but has a chance to be brought back to his former self by the Dodgers. I'm interested to see if the Dodgers could bring him out of the rotation a couple times, given their rotation depth has been really cut into this season with injuries. But with Kershaw, Glasnow, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto about to come back, they should be fine and just use him out of a bullpen role. I would assume he will not be closing very many more games this season as he has been for the Sox. Moving on to the other player the Dodgers got in this trade, it will be utility player Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman was scheduled to move to full-time center field this year after being a large utility player for the majority of his career, as you can see here. But obviously that never happened as he, as you can see, has not played a game this year. He's been on the 60-day IL all season. But this is still a valuable acquisition for the Dodgers. He's not a free agent until after next year, and he is supposed to be coming back soon. His power numbers not really all there, but the contact has been good throughout his career. He's a great defender wherever you want to put him. He was scheduled to move to center field after Mason Wynn and Nolan Gorman kind of took his middle infield spots, but I would assume that's where he would be playing for the Dodgers as their outfield is pretty locked up and their middle infield is probably the weakest part of their team outside of Mookie Betts, who is currently injured. Tommy Edman, just overall through his career, has been a pretty solid contact hitter. Hasn't been amazing the last couple of years, but especially last year. But the 2 years before, hitting the 260 range, OPS wasn't great. But he will give you a great player on defense and has been pretty much the definition of average on offense with a 99 OPS plus. Now we move on to the players that the Cardinals got in return. First one will be Eric Fetty, who is just a great story. Got drafted by the Padres in 2011, didn't sign, and was then a first-rounder by the Nationals. And honestly, was kind of horrible for the Nationals his whole career. Had a 5.41 ERA in his career with the Nationals. Only had 2 years where his ERA was below 4. Only one of those was with 20-plus games, and that was in 2019. And the 2 years leading up to last year, 2021 and 2022, he had ERAs well above 5. Eventually, after he was a free agent, he did not get a contract from anyone, and so he went off to Korea, where he would win the KBO's version of a Cy Young, and he would come back to America and get a pretty decently sized contract from the White Sox, 2 years, $15 million, and he was mainly viewed as a guy that they could maybe save his career and hopefully be at least somewhat of as good of a pitcher as he was in Korea, and he has done exactly that for the White Sox. He has a 3.11 ERA, and he has just been absolutely outstanding, and I'm sure this will really help the Cardinals on their playoff run. He's not a huge strikeout pitcher, but his home run numbers are way down, walk numbers are way down, and strikeout numbers are pretty much up from when he was with the Nationals, up from a 7 to an 8 this year. And he has overall just been way better, career high ERA plus by a ton. And he has been one of the best pitchers for the White Sox behind Garrett Crochet. So kind of surprising he wasn't an all-star, but behind Crochet, not much you can really do. And a 3.11 ERA is nothing to frown at for him. I think this is a really underrated move for the Cardinals, and it hurts for me to say it. I think this is one of the best moves of the deadline so far. The Cardinals also went out and acquired Tommy Pham. He has been a negative WAR player just because of his defense, and it's so bad, but he's been a league average hitter this year with a 102 OPS+. His batting average is pretty middle of the road, power pretty middle of the road. He's overall just a decent hitter, been traded at the deadline for the third year in a row now, went from Cincinnati to Boston in 2022. Mets to the Diamondbacks last year, where he would eventually make the World Series. He is no stranger to St. Louis. He spent his first 4 years of his career there until eventually getting traded at the deadline in 2018 to the Rays. So this would actually be the 4th time he's been traded at the deadline, this time being traded to the Cardinals instead of away from them like he was in 2018. In 2017 and 2018, those were his glory days. He was with the Cardinals, and he was outstanding for them. But nowadays, he's 36 years old, and he's pretty much just a league average bat. Power has been down. He has not played the whole season because he got signed later in the offseason by the White Sox. But he's been good enough to where the White Sox would trade him away, and that's not really saying anything because the White Sox would trade away anyone who's anywhere near good. Slugging percentage is way down this year, but the OPS is still in a decent spot, and I think this is a pretty solid acquisition for the Cardinals as well to help their outfield depth, which has kind of been depleted as they've had Michael Ciani starting in center all season. Moving on to some minor deals from today, we have Michael Lorenzen going to the Royals. This is a decent move, and it was last year the tides were turned. Aroldis Chapman was traded from the Royals to the Rangers as the Rangers went and won the World Series with him. This year, Lorenzen traded to the Royals from the selling Rangers. The Rangers did actually get a left-handed starting pitcher in return, so maybe he'll be as good as Cole Reagans, although I highly doubt it. Michael Lorenzen, I just remembered, actually, he used to hit too. Not really a great hitter, that's why he doesn't do it anymore. But his whole career, he was a reliever. He got changed to a starter in 2022 and was really solid. Last year, all-star with Detroit, got traded to the Phillies, and he was absolutely horrible except for the no-hitter that he ended up throwing at the end of the year. This year with Texas, he's been pretty solid, putting up a 3.81 ERA. Strikeouts have never really been Michael Lorenzen's thing, as he has a 7.4 strikeouts per 9 on his career. The walks are up this year, which is slightly concerning, but home runs have been in a solid spot, not as low as they used to be, but still decent, and hits per 9 have been considerably down compared to the rest of his career, which I'm sure has helped him this year. I think this is a decent trade for the Royals, considering they didn't really have to give up much of anything, and I think that he could be a solid player and help them in their playoff push. Moving on to our final trade, we have Quinn Priester of the Pirates being traded for Nick York to the Red Sox. This is not really a surprising trade for me on the Red Sox end. Nick York, one of their top prospects, first rounder in 2020, along with Marcelo Meyer. and he has been really solid in the minors. He's hitting 310 in AAA this year after getting the call up, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he sees the majors with Pittsburgh this year at just 22 years old. He is not too much of a power hitter, but could give you decent power in the majors, but has always had a great average in the minors with a 277 in the minors for his career. I think that he could be a really solid hitter in the Pirates system. Their infield is also kind of crowded, which is the reason the Red Sox traded him. But moving on to the player that the Red Sox got in return, that would be Quinn Priester. He has had a pretty bad MLB career. Last year looked really bad coming out of the bullpen and rotation. This year has come out of the bullpen a bit more and hasn't looked quite as bad, but he also hasn't looked great. ERA has been lowered to a 5, which still isn't amazing, but also his FIP is a 4.81, which does give you a good sign. Strikeouts are not as high as you would like them for a guy who throws as hard as he does, but home runs are way down from last year. But he also really needs to lower the hits per 9, as it has been above 10 both years, and that needs to change. Although, like I said, home runs and walks have been way down, which has definitely been part of the reason why his ERA and FIP have both gone down so much. But an ERA plus of 80 is not going to be great for a guy who's looking for a rotation spot for a team that is fighting for a playoff spot. Finally, to end off this video, we're just going to look at a few articles in MLB trade rumors. This one that just recently came out. We have Lucas Erceg of the Athletics drawing significant trade interest. This isn't really too much of a surprise. Erceg has been great. He's only 29. Like this says, absolutely amazing team control. Mason Miller probably not going to get traded. Scott Alexander could. He does not have the same kind of control. Urceg, I think, would be a really solid guy to get at the deadline for a team that needs bullpen help. And like I said, he is controllable for 5 seasons, which is another very valuable aspect. And then the final one we're going to look at is Jack Flaherty being scratched from start today. Earlier, they made an article about him potentially being traded to the Padres, which is going to be coming up here at some point. You may have just saw me scroll through. Reds acquired Ty France. Here's the article about Jack Flaherty going to the Padres. The Reds have traded for Ty France after he was DFA'd. He's been horrible this year. You also have Nestor Cortez potentially being traded from the Yankees. You also have the fact that Garrett Crochet may be going to the Braves, as their pitching has been pretty solid this year, but Reynaldo Lopez may be going down with an injury, so that could help them a lot if he ended up going there. And anyway, back to the Jack Flaherty news. He was scratched from the start tonight, which means he will probably be getting traded today or soon in the near future. Definitely not a trade target for my Cubs, as it looks like they're kind of buying and selling, but considering the fact that he is on a 1-year deal, it wouldn't make much sense, nor would it go with the trades that they've been making recently. And that'll be about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you later tonight or tomorrow on Talking About Baseball. Bye. Quick update for everyone really quick. Justin Turner has just been traded to the Mariners.